about 12,500 square feet, which is all considerably more than we have here, usable space. There are some areas here that poor planning and design. This was not a city hall, it was an old hospital. Some space is wasted.
This is a part of the world that is essentially the way it was. However, Congressman Jim Oberstar has already introduced a bill to...
The real issue is, I think, what's going on is we're having restriction after restriction after restriction placed upon the people that use the area. I don't care if you're a boater or a snowmobiler or somebody that flies an airplane or whatever. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Is if we could get some significant reduction in wind would be our first thing, and then if we could get some established weather patterns with some moisture in here. We're getting weather patterns coming through, and all the moisture is going south to Duluth and Minneapolis, and even some of it's going north of us. It's just not hitting us here.
It's that time of year again, time for reading, writing, and report cards. But before any of that can happen, this yearly ritual happens first.
Mommy, I need pen markers and stick markers.
Back to school shopping. For many back-to-schoolers, the most important thing to have is a list. Schools usually supply kids with a list of what they'll need, but in case you forget that list, stores are right there to help.
We've got different lists that they're able to follow. It's not as specific per school, but they do have a generalized listing of what they can look for school to be hot.
And they're making that list and checking it twice. From the list I've seen, the classics remain the most popular from kindergarten all the way up. That means folders, notebooks, and scissors.
But the key this year are name brands, logos, cartoons, or sports figures.
Grant Hill and Lonzo Mourning and Barry Bonds and Barry Sanders.
Ah, all those are kind of your favorite kind of guys?
Yeah.
As long as it's covered with one of those, it's hot. Why is that cool?
Well, everybody else has them.
And you can bet everyone will have one, but for some, back-to-school shopping gets kids in gear to go back.
Until we came today, they didn't want school to start.
Many stores are aiming back to school to all ages, elementary, high school, and college, and all budgets.
Many different items that you can buy on a budget, the different pencils, pens, notebooks.
So with the ringing of the school bell just around the corner, don't wait until it's too late for scissors, notebooks, and folders. In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
We've had one deception after the other, lack of information, refusal to provide the council even privately financial details. So it really smells bad. I don't think there's a project, and they're just scrambling, trying to save their, you know what.
You don't plan projects for purposes of re-election. You plan projects and what's good for the community. You provide jobs because it's good for the community. You do those types of things. And we're doing it. Some projects take longer than others, and we're just going to continue to move ahead.
There's been a year-long series of illnesses, and that time suddenly got worse. You don't have to worry about it because in terms of being spread person to person, we've never had any indication that this disease gets spread from person to person. It's basically an environmental contamination that rarely leads to infections in people.
Really went smoothly. There was a lot of parents that were in the room this morning bringing their children to the class, movie cameras, pictures, and it was great. And so it went a lot smoother than I thought it was going to.
I'd love to see the Packers, but I haven't seen anybody that can go with the Niners yet.
Probably San Fran again. I'm a Green Bay fan, but we don't got enough horses.
Sounds of a superior sunrise. Quiet water lapping. A foghorn in clear sky. A song sparrow greeting. And determination.
Especially when I say, oh God, it's getting really hard to walk. I keep going back to the first time I walked.
The first time I walked.
How soon do we get to the Manitou? Is it like a mile?
15 years ago, after Paul Helina's broken back had healed. Now, Paul Helina is walking 200 miles, the whole length of the Superior Hiking Trail. He figures that broken back made walking tougher, but just like anybody else, he can do anything he sets his mind to.
See, I always have advantages over two-legged people because I have 4 points of contact. You guys only have 2.
Paul Helina's hiking companion was Tricia Ryan, executive director of the Superior Hiking Trail Association.
Gosh, and steep slope, huh?
That's right.
She was the focus of lots of talk, as if Paul Helina had been walking alone too long.
Steve Lundeen asked me on Monday, do you mind company? And though I don't miss people, it sure psychologically helps me, though.
Paul is a member of the Superior Hiking Association. He knows that it was given state money to help build the trail, but association members need to find the money to maintain it. That's one of the reasons he's hiking.
That is incredible. Wow.
But while Paul spent the last year getting into shape for this hike, some things are bugging him that he couldn't prepare for.
No, I think they're insect bites that just are not healing.
Because of his broken back, the muscles in his legs and feet have atrophied. His right leg is the weakest.
Because it has poor circulation, tons of nerve damage, it doesn't know how to heal itself.
But the wounds and the care with which he must treat them are nothing when he thinks of the rewards.
My senses are alive. I mean, I'm feeling every part of my body right now. My eyes are open, my ears are open, everything's alive and open right now. That doesn't happen without going through this.
That's what keeps Paul Helina struggling up steepness and picking his way through rocks. That's what gives Paul Helina the determination to hike the 200-mile Superior Hiking Trail.
Wow.
That and the fact that as soon as he put another 5.5 miles behind him, he could rest a whole day.
Hey, I'm going downhill. Oh, nice.
.30-year-old David William Schlepp is charged with first-degree manslaughter in connection with the shooting. Meanwhile, the victim is identified as 33-year-old Warren Kent Slack of Plover, Wisconsin. The shooting occurred early Tuesday at this cabin on Cedar Lake near Aiken. The motive remains unclear, but according to the criminal complaint, a woman who came to the area with Slack was staying with Schlepp that night. The woman had reported her car stolen and had accused Slack. Later, Slack, nicknamed Snake, had returned the car with the help of a friend. The friend stated he heard a commotion, and then he heard voices, but not yelling, followed by a gunshot. Schlepp, meanwhile, told police his side of the story, saying Slack, or Snake, had broken into his cabin. According to the criminal complaint, the defendant stated that Snake finally charged him from 3 or 4 feet away, and as Snake made contact with his outstretched arms, defendant shot him. Meanwhile, Schlepp appeared today in court for an arraignment. Bill Lund, Channel 6 News.
by what would result in a more than $4 million Medicaid reduction, major funding source for a variety of support services designed to keep families.
Denying that, and we need to have some sort of reform. However, only a moderate reform is needed, not the drastic changes that are being proposed. The organization organization made a trip to Canada in which
Direction from both a moral and economic perspective. Individuals who have developmental disabilities and their families deserve to have access to the care that will be cut if these Medicaid reductions occur.
Time finding it. And she went back and picked up the bicycle, but when she returned with the bicycle approximately 20 minutes later, she couldn't find the house again. Look on the report and I'll tell you the general area where she lives.
So a witness called through.
Right. A woman pick up the bicycle about 20 minutes later and leave it again. Heard it happen, came running out, and then saw the car there, saw the child laying on the ground.
Governor Rudy Perpich and his wife Lola marked this Valentine's Day with happy yet heavy hearts. They sat outside Chapels, the sweet shop where they met 41 years ago. Sharing the same booth they used to sit in while courting, the governor recalls the first time he saw his future wife.
We were on our way to Grand Rapids, and I liked chocolate malts. And I said, let's drop into the sweet shop and have a chocolate malt. And then I came back, it was in the afternoon, and I came back that night for the street dance, and she had a yellow dress on, and it's very vivid in my memories.
Well, I thought he was pretty cute. He was very tall, and I was tall, and it was very difficult to find anybody my height. So he was tall and cute.
By elimination. I finally found out why. I was the only tall guy around.
He was tall and cute, but I found out he had the other qualities that I was looking for later on.
The booth will be preserved at Iron World's Interpretive Center, but Chapel saw its last day. The building has been vacant for years, and after the Perpiches said their farewells, it was torn down. The IRRB is demolishing the building to make way for new businesses.
It's almost a story of our kind of environment here. You know, the school that I went through from K through 10 is gone. The church we were married in is gone, and now the place we met is gone. And it's sad.
Thanks to nature, there are ugliest dogs. Thank you. Yes, she is singing. But Tootsie, you're not really ugly, are you? See, I'm a pretty good-looking pooch. For us today. You big dog. But you know he will later. Hi, a couple of
at a governor's convention. And when I met him, I walked up and I slapped him on the back and I said, "Hi, pal." And he said, "Hi, pal." And from then on, that's what we called each other. They say Rudy had an idea a minute. Rudy had an idea every half minute, every quarter minute, and every second.
He handled his illness and his impending death as he has the rest of his life, with enormous dignity. He maintained his privacy. He fought this illness as he has so many other major events and causes in his life, with all the resources at his disposal, with creativity, and with all of his energy.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what happened out there. I know that I shot twice.
And prosecutors say Richard Lorry's bullets killed the 17-year-old boy, Bruce Braddock Jr., and they say another shot wounded Braddock's father. The shots erupted 2 years ago, hours after Lorry's daughter came home claiming she had been raped at a party where she conceded she was falling down drunk.
That doesn't make me responsible for anything. I think some other people are responsible.
And otherwise, everybody that drank, it'd be almost like open season on them, you know.
The dead boy's father says he regrets what his sons did, but that Lorry took the law into his own hands.
There was no right for him to murder my boy and to shoot me and cause us problems for all of our families. It could have been done the legal way. It could have been done by the law. They would have took care of it.
But Lorry says he opened fire believing someone was on this porch with a gun. Yet Lorry says when he fired, he never aimed at anyone.
There was never any intent to do any harm when me and Heather went over there.
I believe he was defending me. I don't believe he killed Bruce Braddock Jr.
He was protecting his family.
Closing arguments, prosecutor Tim Favor said Lorry was judge, jury, and executioner. And Favor told jurors the rape case is separate from this one. Two of Braddock's boys have pled guilty in the rape. Favor said it's now time Lorry paid for what he did when he pulled the trigger. While the prosecutor didn't talk on camera, Lorry's attorney did, saying the rape is very much a part of all of this.
We think it's all unfortunate, but we think it all started with the early morning hours during the rape down at the cemetery.
That's why your client acted the way he did.
Party has tended to be, although now with the emergence. Pretty close.
6 out of 8 congressional seats. We did not lose a Senate seat. The incumbent was a Republican. But I think we are definitely concerned, and people are concerned that that perhaps the party is getting out of touch with the middle of America.
We were very cramped, and our dental clinic was scheduling 3-4 months out just for routine patients. We just didn't have the physical capability of keeping up with the capacity of the number of visits that we had.
I've actually tasted the Coyote Kirschbier and the Special Ale and a new beer that they're coming up with called Alt Beer, which is based on the style they make in Dusseldorf, Germany. I think the Coyote Kirschbier is very good if you like something light and
perhaps on the sweet side. My preference was for the special ale because that's got more flavour in it, and you know.
What I hope it doesn't do to the next generation of trial lawyers coming up is that send a message to them that they have to try cases that way. You don't have to. In Minnesota, we don't use that kind of inflammatory language. On both sides, Marcia Clark and Johnny Cochran both. The best argument, a little bit that I saw, was the guy from the East, Barry Scheck. Yeah, I mean, he was very impressive. I mean, that was a man who focused on the facts and really hammered home to the jury. That was a nice style to learn. I think the whole
of our air and our water. It saddens us to see him getting caught up in this struggle. I think that what he's doing is well-intentioned, but I think the numbers clearly show that he's out of step with his constituents and that he's headed the wrong direction. And we sure hope that when he sees the numbers from both of these polls, not only our poll, but also of the well-respected Minnesota poll, that he's going to reconsider his position.
More the passing lanes in, so it makes it a safer highway to travel. You think passing lane will help? Very pleased with the Department of Transportation.
Was a recognition by the legislature of the value of this project to northern Wisconsin and the benefit of the visitor center to the well-being of the state of Wisconsin.
I've been in about 2 years. I think maybe about 4.
How does the arm feel? Feels good. No discomfort.
This heavy bandage around Martha Rice's arm is part of her therapy for lymphedema. Lymphedema is a buildup of a protein-filled fluid in the body. In Martha's case, it's her right arm. The swelling began following her breast cancer surgery.
I've seen several doctors since then, and they verified, yes, it is lymphedema. It may go away, it may not, and that's just one of the side effects.
When doctors removed the lymph nodes under Martha's arm, it caused a blockage, preventing the fluid, which normally travels throughout our lymph system, from getting out.
You are having the fluid is staying in the tissue. It is not going back into the lymphatic vessels and being removed from the body the way that it should be.
so it has to be moved manually. Linda Powell is a trained manual lymph drainage therapist. She's been working with Martha for 3 weeks to reduce swelling.
The reason that you do the manual lymph drainage is because you want to produce manually artificial or new pathways for the lymphatic vessels to drain.
Linda uses a special hands-on technique to move the fluid, but she cautions it's not a massage. Massage can actually cause more swelling. This technique is routinely used in Europe, but is slow to come here.
No one knows what manual lymph drainage is, and they really just cannot believe that this works the way that it does. But if you understand the lymphatic system, then you can understand that you will get the regeneration of the lymphatic vessels.
Martha says she's proof the treatment works.
Feels great. I feel bone in there. I can see blood vessels that I haven't seen in a year.
Holly Sherwood for NBC News.
I don't think he was ready. Well, I had a look here, the whole thing. The design that we have shows that it's a community design. It's intended to show that the police department is here to help our communities, and we want the residents to feel comfortable using their police department.
Stop action. The water running down here. The gray stripe is reflective, so at night.
No, I don't think he was ready.
Part of business was closed at the time. There were nobody else was inside with the exception of one employee.
Is she tied up?
We have some information that the passerby that discovered the fire did find a female employee bound and gagged. However, he is unclear as to exactly whether or not she was inside or just coming outside of the building.
Not accommodating activity, but they're learning to use it. Well, this project got started last year as a kind of a single strand. We had a goal of starting with the SS Meteor, getting the kids comfortable with that, knowing the concept of landing things from a boom, and then actually moving it to our classroom, constructing a boom and a boat and a trough, and getting into companies.
On the volunteers, the candidates would be lost. They know that. The people who carry the freight are the ones who get candidates elected, and the office seekers know it.
Of course, we will be contributing a very major piece of property to the effort, but beyond that, we don't have any financial obligations, but the same token, we don't have any strings or oversight on the thing, and I think that's maybe very good that Mr. Palucci will build the plant at his own time and schedule and so on at whatever size he wants.
With Halloween just around the corner, both candidates for Duluth mayor say they want to take the fright out of the remaining days of the campaign. It's been an uncomfortable week with the candidates trading barbs at Duluth Heights and in forums across town.
Gary Doty.
I've listened to him on TV and on the radio discrediting me. I've heard him at news conferences screaming and hollering.
And maybe you ought to stop distorting all these things and tell the whole story. But then again, the story wouldn't sound as good if you told the whole story, would it?
On Thursday, Bergson released what he calls the Doty Truth Watch, claiming the mayor has not been truthful with citizens, charges that stung the mayor to the quick.
Well, this is the worst one I've been through. I've never seen anything like this. And I sense from the general public that they haven't seen anything like this in the local election either, and they're as disturbed by it as I am.
Bergson, for his part, is sticking to his guns. He says Doty is merely crying foul when his own record as mayor is raised.
Let's vote by the numbers, but let's vote by the real numbers, not by the numbers that Gary Doty gives you, by the numbers that are in his budget, right there. That's the real numbers, and those numbers are 25% higher than they were 4 years ago.
The mayor has a major media blitz planned this week, while Bergson will try to stay on the offensive. But for the last week of the campaign, both men hope to stick to the high road.
And it is bothersome. It's bothersome to me. It's bothersome to my family. I've, for 47 years, built up a reputation in this community, and going through something like this and seeing this happen really hurts.
You know, we ran a clean campaign all the way through the primary, and anyone that followed the campaign knows that. We had to react to what my opponent was doing. You know, he was distorting the facts.
In Duluth, Jeff Pappas, Channel 6 News.
The actual costs, it appears, will stay about the same. This is an attempt for the district to separate those costs of processing waste and those which support other programs that are an important part of our environmental program.
Ask you this. If there is
We moved out to UMD today for Blanket Duluth, and we're cold. And the reason we're cold is to be out here so other people can be warm. There's approximately 100 people tonight that are on the streets that are cold and they need blankets. And that's why we're here to raise 2,500 to 3,500 blankets in a 24-hour period. We can't do it without you folks that are watching. If you don't come out here and bring blankets, there's going to be a lot of cold people in this community. We need your help.
Neil Atkins took sides in the Duluth mayor's race. He said he wanted to stay neutral, but realized that voters wanting change have one place to turn.
But the only guy now that can make a difference is Herb. One of the things that Herb's done since the primary election is basically, Herb, you adopted almost every point that I brought up in the campaign, and I appreciate that because
Atkins earned 21% of the vote in the September primary, and with most polls showing Bergson running behind, the challenger says the support of Atkins and other assembled small businessmen is a boost that could make all the difference.
Big boost. And it's a big boost to have Neil on board and to have all these folks on board. Small business is the backbone of our community. 90% of all new job growth comes from small business.
Not surprisingly, the mayor doesn't see it that way. His polls show him running between 5 and 15 points ahead. He says Atkins' endorsement is too little, too late.
Neil's endorsement is last minute, and I think it's too late to have any impact. I don't know what Neil's personal agenda is, but you know, he made a decision to go ahead and do that, and I don't think it's going to have any impact at all.
Supporting me. They have come out and told me that they would do that. We have lawn signs in their yards, and I don't think that by
In that context?
Well, it's a work in progress.
On the outside, the candidates are the story. Their news conferences, their sound bites, their policy statements, the people for whom we vote. But without volunteers, the candidates would be lost. They know that. The people who carry the freight are the ones who get candidates elected, and the office seekers know it.
It's great to have volunteers like you have, and you make a lot of new friends because people stop in and ask if they can help, and you get to know who they are, and you get lasting friendships.
For the first and probably only time in the campaign, there's something Doty and Herb Bergson can agree upon. The challenger says he wouldn't trade his volunteers for anything.
Thank you isn't enough words to demonstrate how I feel, and that those people are just wonderful. I wouldn't want them on the other team. They're absolutely tenacious. They're wonderful people.
And it's not just the mayor's candidates who have had help. City council hopefuls and school board candidates are also winding up theirs.
Thank you. Thank them all very much for all the hard work they've put in and to put up with me at some times when things got a little too hectic, and just a great group of people I have working for me.
We're looking at a total of damages of $1.7 million in the fire, which is more than we had thought originally. I think even more than the insurance company had thought originally. But we will begin as soon as we can.
Chris and Stephen Bushman were out playing near Miller Creek this week when one of the boys nearly stepped in what looked like a beaver trap. Luckily, the stick that Stephen was carrying set off the trap in the nick of time.
We were looking in tall, grassy areas that had overflooded because the fish tend to hang around there. And we just, thank God Stephen put his stick down before he hit it.
The trap was a foot long and very heavy. Chris says the trap could have broken Stephen's foot, or worse, had he stepped in it.
He was within inches of it. He put his stick down and the thing just went off.
And then my brother said pick it up to see what it is. And then I lifted it up and the thing was so heavy that it snapped my brother's stick. And then I took a bigger one and I lifted it up and it was triangle and big.
The boy's mother is concerned that traps are being placed where children are playing, putting them in great danger. She feels that a city ordinance should be drafted to restrict trapping within the city limits.
They just wanted to go out playing and fishing, and the Miller Creek is fairly close by, so it's easy for them to get there and not dangerous. I didn't think it was dangerous anyway, to let them go there by themselves.
The city of Duluth doesn't have such an ordinance, so the trap at Miller Creek was legally placed. But according to state law, anyone who sets a trap must have a name tag on it and mark it with a flag. The trap that Chris and Stephen found was not marked or tagged. In Duluth, Gina Stapleton, Channel 6 News. This says if the trap catches a domestic animal,
Early Saturday morning, October 14th, the Nesco company in St. Louis County near Pike Lake was burglarized. Sheriff's deputies believe at least 2 people were involved. They pried open a secluded rear door to get inside the building and then kicked open 2 locked doors inside. They stole small amounts of money from several desk drawers, but hit the jackpot in the owner's office. The safe in that office contained over $20,000 in cash. They didn't even break open the safe, but carried it off when they left. Deputies believe the burglars had some knowledge of the business because they stole only the one safe and left without checking 2 other safes in the building. Crime Stoppers will pay up to $1,000 to catch these burglars, and we never ask the caller's name. Our number is 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH.
Policy kind of confrontation, but I think there's a very good prospect that sometime today the White House and the Republican leadership will come to an agreement. The Republicans realize they can't override the veto. They have made their point about these non-fiscal items that they've included in the continuing resolution.
We saved the first 12 months we were here, $200,000 plus just on workman's compensation. That added to the 1% city sales tax, which Minnesota has, or Duluth has, I'm sorry, and a few other odds and ends. It made it financially impossible for us to stay in Duluth.
but hundreds will benefit from it because of the fact that you can take that $1,300 and just imagine each dollar equating it to 9 pounds of food. And I'm not fast enough to multiply that out for you right now, but there's an enormous amount of poundage that $1,300 will translate into.
In the wetlands, and they've indicated in their attached correspondence that they want to protect the primary wetlands.
Today we have before us a map that points out the jog that they're looking for.
How many more times can the people of this area be expected to trust these developers, whose main purpose is to profit?
In detail. You know, when that traffic study went to the Planning Commission, that it wasn't even reviewed by them, Mr. Lewis took it upon himself to indicate he didn't agree with the plan, with that report.
15-year-old Daniel Hamilton was reported as a missing hunter after he left his cabin near Jacobson with his gun a year ago. At that time, rescue crews, family members, and volunteers mounted extensive searches in the area unsuccessfully. But over the weekend, Aiken County authorities and Itasca County authorities were called to a scene near the boys' cabin.
The remains were found this Saturday afternoon, late afternoon. That's when we got involved, the Itasca County Sheriff's Department. And we went out with Aiken County authorities to the scene and started excavation.
Area residents say a hunter found Daniel's gun back in these woods here opening weekend. But it wasn't until yesterday that a positive identification was made on Daniel's remains, exactly 1 year to the day he was reported missing.
After they had the gun and had the family identify the gun, they had called us and told us that the gun was found in our county, and at that point, in the meantime, the hunters had gone back out there and discovered the remains.
Authorities say they do not suspect foul play and tell Channel 6 News Daniel probably died of exposure and hypothermia. They will continue to investigate. In Grand Rapids, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
Playing. She's kind of devoting herself to softball. Well, she should. And that's going to be good. Now we're in the process of picking a college.
I heard Anna was talking about going to Bradley.
She did?
I believe we're looking at 50 to 60 jobs at the Cook facility itself, and potentially another 50 to 75 jobs in the woods as additional woods workers.
Photographer Charles Rathbun is now a suspect in the murder of another model, and he may be linked to a third killing. Rathbun is already in custody in connection with the death of model and former Los Angeles Raider cheerleader Linda Sobek. Her body was found in the Angeles National Forest. She died after going on a photo shoot involving cars. They are almost the exact circumstances under which Kimberly Pandelios, another model, was killed in 1992. County Sheriff Sherman Block announced there is one other similarity between the cases.
You have people who come forward who have
indicated that there was an acquaintanceship between Rathbun and Kimberly Pandaleos.
Block said Rathbun met Pandaleos at least twice. That comes as no shock to the model's mother.
It's too much coincidence to be, to not be the same person in both cases.
We're getting calls from people all over the country who...
And Sheriff Block said Rathbun could be linked to a death in the town where he grew up. Stephanie Hummer, an 18-year-old Ohio State student, was killed. Her murder never solved. Los Angeles detectives now headed to Ohio as the Rathbun investigation widens. Reporters asked Sheriff Block, is Charles Rathbun a serial killer? Certainly, said the sheriff. It's a possibility. Jim Hanchett, NBC News, Los Angeles.
There's still a few areas that need to be addressed in that situation with clearing out the windfalls. The swamps are a major concern at this time of the year. A lot of them are full of water. We had a lot of rain this fall. Some swamps are plenty solid to go over. Some of them are not so safe. We urge people, if you are going to go out early in the season like this, to please proceed with extreme caution.
The search warrant was for narcotics, and as you can see from what we have here, there's a considerable amount of marijuana that was found, and some hashish was found. We believe the estimated amount of marijuana is between 25 and 40 pounds, and the street value of it is about $100,000 to $150,000.
Did you guys like working with some of the fellows that came in to help you learn how to do this? Was that
Yeah. Because we want to make some kids' Christmas a better Christmas. Because they might not get so much toys from their mom and dad.
Sounds like a good plan. Can you tell me how you spell your name?
Brandon.
Brandon?
Fairbank.
With close to a foot of snow dumped on the Northland, today was spent digging and pushing out.
Ready?
Yeah. Go. Yes! Whether it was your car or your driveway, the heaping piles of snow were a sloppy inconvenience for some.
And then, you know, like you can see, my car got stuck, and I've been out here for the last half an hour trying to get it out.
Well, I wasn't really prepared for all this snow. The cold weather and then the snow, it kind of took me by surprise.
I'm from San Diego, California, and here for school, and boy, am I not used to the snow.
But for many Northland kids, the pounding of snow meant a day off of school and perfect sledding conditions. City snowplow crews were out in full force today working around the clock, clearing streets and sidewalks, but the job is a big one.
Our objective, try and get everything cleared within 24 hours after the snow stops, and we should be able to make that. We'll have some pushing back to do tomorrow, and a lot of that's because of parked cars and heavy snow, but we should be able to make our objective.
A heavy snow like this one means a lot of shoveling, digging, and clearing, but it can also create confusion when it comes to parking.
We have different parking schemes for different streets. Most of it's under calendar parking. Up on Superior Street and 4th Street, they're trying out a new system right now where they can park Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and then the other days they park Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday on the other side of the street. And that's where we're having the troubles right now, trying to educate the public that please stick with the signs.
City officials say if you watch the signs, plows can get through faster and easier as well. Now with warmer temperatures headed our way, that means much of the snow will melt. But for now, the Northland is stuck, cleaning up after Mother Nature. In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
Good evening. Topping our news tonight, 2 separate fires in Duluth destroy a mobile home and a single-family
A chilling
dwelling.
news report, one becoming more frequent in the Northland, and one that everyone hopes will never happen to them. But it did happen to 12-year-old Crystal Jo Cardinal, her mom, and her younger sister. Sunday night, a forced air furnace kicked in, blowing a curtain onto a lighted Christmas candle. Within moments, flames engulfed the family home.
And we got out of there quick because we were in the kitchen. It was in the living room. And we got out the door. I took 4 presents, and I left.
Dana Jo Letica says Crystal Jo is her best friend. They share the same middle name and have known each other since 4th grade, nearly a lifetime for 12-year-old girls. When she heard about the fire, Dana Jo mounted a one-woman public relations campaign to promote a Cardinal family fundraiser.
Well, really what I was doing is asking the radio stations for their fax number, and then I would fax them a letter, and then I was hoping that they would announce it on the radio so we could help out Crystal.
Did that surprise you that she had the courage to call everybody in the radio stations?
Yeah, I never dreamed of her doing that.
So she must be pretty special.
Yeah.
The fire raced so fast through the Cardinal family home, most of their belongings were destroyed. Relatives have taken the family in. Crystal's mom says for the long term, she and her daughters may have to move away. Crystal Jo and Dana Jo have other ideas.
Well, our goal is to get her enough stuff and enough donations for money to have her stay in Proctor and just to start a new life and a better life and all that. That would be just fine.
If they do fall short of their goal and Crystal's family does move away, both girls say no matter what, their friendship will last forever.
I just think it's wonderful that everybody's just coming to help. I mean, I watched It's a Wonderful Life last night, and I felt like George Bailey, you know, because the whole town is just coming together and all friends and family coming to help.
See the manhole cover, and it was flowing just as much. It started raining, and here's a little bit closer shot. The level has dropped some. We're providing.
I really think the best way to put it is it's a better deal for the community. We get the same result that we were looking for before at only a quarter of the cost, and it's focused in on where the problem really is, rather than saying everybody has to make changes to their home whether they contribute to the problem or not.
Well, this week is probably our busiest week. We could roll most of the rest of the year into this week as far as business goes. Pretty busy this time of year.
Hey, Jimbo, how's it going? Hey, you got my card now. Oh, they did, huh? You don't have a card.
Take a look at what's going on.
I don't know, in health, we're like talking about child abuse, and I mean, I just saw him there, and it made me mad that some parents could do that to him. So I decided I could help that way.
Soon after dawn in Medway, one man readied his machine for what will be the ride of a lifetime. He's traveling from here to Bemidji, a place billed as the snowmobile capital of Minnesota. Round trip, he's looking at about 4,400 snow-covered miles.
I have my maps all laid out, highlighted. I have a stack about yay. I have trail maps. They all have route numbers. It's just like driving down the interstate highway.
Bob plans to travel roughly 200 miles a day. He's carrying only the essentials: a cellular phone, a couple tools, lots of plastic, and a change of clothes.
I plan on, doing some washing along the route.
Bob says he's been talking about making this trip for ages, but he started making definitive plans back in August. It wasn't until after they were made that someone said, hey, you might be able to make the Guinness Book of World Records. Turns out they were right. The distance won't put Bob's trip in the record books. It's that he's doing it alone. He says he's not worried about getting lonely along the way. In fact, it's the solitude that draws him to the sport in the first place.
It's a great thing for somebody that's sit down at a desk and does a lot of paperwork. And when I get out there, I don't even think about it. I just get out there, and it really takes away and relaxes me, and it's great. I love it.
Bob says he's revved up about setting a world record and seeing Bemidji, but what's got him the most excited are the smaller sights he'll see along the way.
Chilly winters in the Northland can be a problem for deer. We've had a lot of early snow and cold this year. As January, February, and March roll around, we'll get more snow and the temperatures will drop. And that's the time that deer may start having some feeding problems.
We measure the impact of the weather on deer by taking snow depth measurements and keeping track of temperature. And we have an index called the Winter Severity Index that we keep track of. And when that goes well over 100, we start thinking about having some deer problems. And right now, locally, we're only at 30.
Some feel that the situation could already be hurting the deer population.
The current situation with the weather and the depth of the snow, eventually, if it continues on, will have a negative impact, I believe, upon the deer herd of northern Minnesota, especially in the Arrowhead region and other regions of the state where there is a high wolf population. I've talked to hunters as recently as today, in fact, that they completed their musket hunting and the snow depth was up to their belt buckle. So it's just a matter of time before it does have a negative impact, if it already has not.
No matter how bad it gets, the DNR does not expect to feed deer in the Northland.
We don't anticipate any more feeding in the northern forest because we just can't reach that many deer. We have to spend an awful lot of money to do it.
Although the deer are handling the snow and cold well right now, they could face tougher times later this winter. Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News. The old St. Louis County Jail isn't quite as busy as it used to be since the new jail opened this past July.
Our patrol division, central records, we have a portion of the lab, and we have evidence storage that is in there. But basically, we don't need this whole building. Once we moved all the inmates out of it, our operation, the jail operation, is all transferred over the hill now.
The county board has received many suggestions on what to do with the 1929 landmark, but they say renovating the building is not going to be easy.
But the problem there is that we've done a study, and it would take like $3 million to renovate the inside, and another close to $2 million to take care of work that needs to be done on the outside of the building.
The jail is on the National Historic Register, so altering the building would be a complicated task.
For example, when we put the skywalk in this courthouse right behind here, we had to go through a lengthy process with some federal office as to how we would be able to just cut a hole into the back of the building.
Officials say renovating the old jail would also take some time because the cell blocks are part of the building's support system. For now, the county board will continue to take suggestions and weigh the taxpayers' cost. In Duluth, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News. Nearly 1,500 people came to Chisholm High School today, and many stood in line waiting to get applications for the Northwest Iron Range Reservation Center. Northwest officials say they're excited about bringing more jobs to the Northland.
While we can't limit all the jobs to Minnesotans, we plan that the majority of those will be Minnesota-based jobs, and primarily to the Iron Range community, which is what we planned and what we're excited about.
Right now, the majority of the job openings are for reservation sales agents, but the center expects to provide over 200 new jobs this year and more than 600 jobs in the next 4. After the informational seminar, potential workers were shown part of the job as reservation agents, and some Northlanders say they're prepared for the new job.
I've been going to school for the past, over a year now for the call center sales, both at the Hibbing College and the vocational school.
Because locals are excited about new career opportunities, some feel this could be a real boost for the Iron Range economy.
Not only the 600 jobs that it's potentially going to create, but I think it's going to create a lot more jobs as far as other companies are going to see how, if the reservation center is going to be successful, other companies are going to see that and possibly, move into the area.
The reservation center plans to take its first calls on March 31st. In Chisholm, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
people, you need to go out and buy one and put it up today.
Back home. You're trying to get back to Duluth.
Superior, Wisconsin.
Oh, you want to get back to Superior. What's your name?
Jill.
And did you get stuck by the storm?
Yes, got stuck by the storm.
So are you're gonna try to get out today or no?
Try and get out tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Good plan. All right. And where are you trying to get to?
Trying to get back to Memphis.
Yeah. When were you supposed to get out?
Yesterday.
Oh, well, I guess not. Now, have you called in already? Is anybody you need to let know back in Memphis?
Yeah, my little girl Maggie. Hi, Maggie.
Traffic along Minnesota Highway 53 often moves more quickly than the posted 55-mile-per-hour speed limit. Some members of the State Patrol fear the speeding will get even more common if the Minnesota Joint Agency Task Force on Speed Limits has its way. The task force is recommending an increase in speed limits on our highways.
Most people drive over the speed limit, someplace between 5 and 10 miles an hour over the limit. So if we're going to increase that speed, it's pretty obvious to me that people are going to adjust their speeds accordingly and just drive that much faster over the speed limit.
Currently, that speed limit is 55 miles per hour on Minnesota's urban interstates and divided highways like Highway 53. The change would raise that limit to 65 miles per hour. Also, the task force recommends raising the limit of 65 miles per hour on rural interstates like I-35 to 70 miles per hour. And if that happens, authorities say we will see more deadly accidents.
In Minnesota annually, we see approximately 100,000 motor vehicle accidents. And the contributing factors are many, but the biggest contributing factor to the majority of accidents is illegal or unsafe speed.
Captain Lane expects this measure to go through. Now, if that happens, drivers could see a speed limit increase on Minnesota highways like 53 as early as this summer.
55 is a little slow. I think it should be where it was before. It was 65 when I started driving. And I believe it should be there again.
The recommendation for the increase will be presented to the legislature next week. From there, it is expected to become a bill and voted on this spring. In Duluth, Ann Carroll, Channel 6 News.
Not yet.
Oh.
we've been talking a long time about our Twin Ports area and how we're all one community, and I think this really shows it, that Duluth is willing to host a great party like this for the people that are great Packer backers and come across the bridge to work.
People on the East Coast called their recent snowstorm the blizzard of '96. Now it's the Northland's turn for blizzard-like conditions. Unlike the Easterners, though, we're used to big snowstorms, but in our case, familiarity does not lead to complacency, so many preparation-minded citizens headed to the stores to stock up on supplies. Local grocers reported a run on milk and bread last night, and in the video stores, movies were flying off the shelves.
We've had more business tonight, I think, than any Wednesday in past history. We've sent 4 times as many movies out on this Wednesday than on any other Wednesday that we've ever had in the past.
People had good reason to prepare for a short hibernation as the storm raged. A foot or more of snow and sustained winds of 40 miles per hour are predicted to pound our region.
What happened is the jet stream finally rearranged itself. For so long it had been dipping down in the east, but then it started dipping down in the Four Corners state, allowed a little energy to come in off the Pacific. That grabbed a hold of some moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and then we had some cold air coming down from Canada. All 3 of them converged in just the right spot, and presto, we ended up with a blizzard.
Some storm-savvy Northlanders, however, don't think this storm is anything out of the ordinary.
I think that this blizzard has gotten more hype than any snowstorm that, I mean, it's Duluth, you know, it's snow. It's like all of a sudden we live in Alabama or Kentucky.
He may be right. The hoopla over the East Coast blizzard may just have all of us a little over-anxious. Odds are the snow and wind may end this evening, leaving us with the unenviable task of shoveling out. And if the snow isn't insult enough, this blizzard should be followed by a bitter blast of Arctic cold. The highs this weekend, if you can even call them that, will be below 0. In snow-covered Duluth, I'm meteorologist Dave Anderson, Channel 6 News.
No, I said it hurts, and I
And you had the baby right there.
Yes, I did.
Patrick, you delivered the baby at home with the help of a 911 operator. What were you told when you asked for emergency vehicles to come?
Oh, I called 911 and I said, my wife is having a baby. And she said, okay, we'll send an ambulance. And I said, well, that's great, but she's having it now.
But they also told you, did they not, that the vehicles, the emergency ambulances, were actually snowed in? They had to be dug out before they could come to your home.
She didn't tell me that, but it took a while for them to get there.
Actually, in fact, they did say they had to dig the vehicles out to get to your house. How long did you have to wait after Nicholas arrived, before help arrived?
Help arrived about 5 minutes after Nicholas did, but
my belief is they'll both be dealt with at the same time, I anticipate that both of them will go on a ballot, and so I think it'll be left up to the voters on this.
I think councilors really ought to take a stand on what they believe. I mean, I do understand the argument that says, well, we've had the petition drive, let's let people vote. But if a project is either particularly good or particularly bad, I think councilors ought to vote on it.
Donations have been coming in pretty regularly, but it goes out as fast as it comes in. So there is, because of the colder weather, people are taking more.
Well, I think Pittsburgh's going to win it. They're going to stay with them the whole game and win in the last couple of minutes by about 4 points, and I really want Pittsburgh to win.
I'd rather see Pittsburgh, but I really don't think they can do it. Dallas has got the big horses.
As we get closer to spring, that will increase even more so. Odds of being uninjured or less severely injured. So.
So these are educational tools, or I see them as educational monies, that we can get our officers out in the streets to specifically work on those areas that can help citizens have a good life in our community.
No way!
Yes, we're at 59!
It's a record! All right!
Hold that one up there, Kathy!
Well, no, they accepted it.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I think it's 63 and a half. Or,
Well,
what?
yeah, but yeah.
They're on a downhill slide. And the most effective thing we can do is to cut down the number of antlerless permits we hand out for next fall's hunting season. If we do that and we have a mild winter after that, we can actually bring the deer herd back to where we are today pretty quickly within 1 or 2 years. So that would be our step to bring the deer herd back, to cut antlerless permits.
Okay. Well, if it does get real bad, what?
So, Tom, here's a check for $50,000. I know we'll use it wisely, right?
Number there is 723-3357.
The Duluth Housing Trust Fund strives to stimulate new housing opportunities, combat deterioration of the existing housing stock, and improve the energy efficiency of housing.
They're available.
Down to is when you're an initiative for providing additional housing, I think the biggest thing is there's an overall need for low-income housing.
That's the sound that fills the kitchen of the Chocolate Mousse restaurant as chefs prepare their dishes. But they aren't preparing everyday dishes. They're getting ready for the 3rd annual Wild Game Tasting event. Some chefs say cooking this type of meat gives them a change of venue.
It's not often you get to cook so much wild game in one place at one particular time and have such a variety of it all in one shot. You know, usually you just have 1 or 2 particular items, but here we've got, a dozen, so it's kind of fun.
Some of those 12 delicacies they plan to cook are bear roast, moose roast, wild boar ribs, and frog legs, which the chef says taste better than chicken. We also got a glimpse of one of the other chefs preparing geese. He says cooking wild game is just a part of him and gives him time to show off.
That the flavor comes through. I've been kind of specializing in wild game for about 15 years. And for no other reason than it's just been a passion. My family were hunters, and I've been lucky to be around a lot of hunters. And even though I don't hunt much, I get a lot of donations.
So other hunters kind of give me their stuff, so I'm real lucky that way. So this is fun.
Director of the event, Lisa Olson, says getting everyone together for the event is very gratifying.
The fun and the positiveness of people pulling together to donate wild game or come up with, the chefs coming up with some fantastic ideas for recipes and presentation. You know, that our staff is real upbeat about coming in and putting the effort into working on this day and serving. We're going to probably have 500 to 800 people, maybe even closer to 1,000, and you know, that's more than a job.
Wild game tasting will go on throughout the day. In Ely, Tamika Snowden, Channel 6 News.
How do you find time to do this play stuff and work?
The mayor isn't sure what he'll do. The challenge to his veto authority came from citizens who hope the council will vote the mall expansion down tonight. The mayor wants to veto such a vote and let voters decide whether the project should go ahead.
I believe that the people should have a right to vote on this. There have been so many people that have signed the petitions, and as I walked around and visited in the community, people are saying they want an opportunity to vote on an issue that's as major as this and affects the future of Duluth.
But the veto issue may be moot. Councilor Ken Hogue says any veto could conceivably be overturned. Hogue is believed to hold a swing vote on the Miller Mall rezoning, but says both proposals should be judged separately on their own merits.
A lot of people, both pro and con, on the mall issues are lumping them together and saying we either should have both or we shouldn't have both. And the proposals are different, and I hope that people look at that, and I hope the council looks at that.
There is still support for sending the issue straight to the voters. Council President Yvonne Pretner agrees with Doty that the issue should be settled at the ballot box.
So that we can't just reverse ourselves based on those 3,200 signatures. At this time, if we did what we thought was right, I think now is the time to turn it over to the voters.
Wish to draw. If she had, you know, one wish, what would she wish for? And this is what she drew. How they're feeling, and you know, pretty soon they'll start telling you. That they'll feel safe and feel like it's okay to start talking about what's been happening with them. It's a way for them to express how they've been feeling about what's been happening in their lives. A lot of times, they are told to verbally not express themselves, and so this is another way for them to express themselves.
We're staying at the Radisson. That was pretty nice. And then we come out skiing here for a few hours. A lot of fun. I haven't been skiing in a long time, so it's been a lot of fun.
Make their views known. Shouldn't have to be just because we've got a contest.
One personality or a couple of people running against each other's
Study on transportation and infrastructure. And We aren't going to let that take away David. The world is run by those who show up. And if you're unhappy about the way things are going, then show up. Show up for your precinct caucus. Be a part of the process. Don't sit back and complain when you haven't done your part.
Hi, my name is Mary Thor. I believe that grassroots